Good afternoon, everybody. This is Paul Ura at the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio. This will be our 1:30 p.m. Thursday briefing on the current weather event that is ongoing. Basically, what has changed over the past 24 hours is that obviously we've had a lot of ice, and now we're seeing kind of a back edge of the precipitation, which is kind of nice, or at least kind of seeing an end to at least the sleet and the freezing rain. Way out in the hill country, and that will kind of make its way to the east. This is our last scheduled briefing via webinar. This going forward tomorrow and maybe even Saturday, depending on the situations, we'll just be sending out our typical situation reports that most of you are probably on the mailing list. So we'll be handling a lot of those sort of briefings by the typical situation reports that we typically send out during our weather events. There are going to be some times for some questions at the end. We'll have you write those questions in the questions section there of the GoToWebinar, and we'll get to those at the very, very end. Obviously, the key messages are that we do have a significant icing event that's ongoing across portions of the area, in particularly the hill country and the Austin area. So areas that we were briefing on that we thought were going to be getting hit, it has turned out pretty well that those are the areas that are under the winter storm warning that remains in effect until 9 o'clock tonight, with again the periphery sort of areas of which will show are under winter weather advisories. There's been a lot of reports of some scattered power outages. We're getting pictures in now of trees down due to the weight of the ice, and obviously some traffic accidents as well scattered around. Judging by most things, most people look like they heeded the warning, and a lot of people have remained off the roads, but unfortunately not everybody. The precipitation is ending west to east across the area and should be primarily east of Interstate 35 over the next few hours. So there's still some lingering stuff out there, especially over the hill country, which I'll show you, but everything's kind of getting less and less in the intensity look on the radar, so that's good. And some of that lingering frozen precipitation may last into the evening. I'll show you a couple of screen captures of a model here in a second. And again, the winter weather advisories also remain in effect on those periphery counties, and that'll remain in effect probably likely in most areas just because of the poor travel conditions. So we'll have some decisions to make over the next 6 hours or so about what we want to do with the winter storm warnings. A lot will depend probably on the conditions that they have on the roads and making some calls. We have had widespread up to about 0.1 to 0.2 inches of ice accumulation in the hill country in the northern I-35 corridor. Some sleet totals have come in even higher than that. The sleet is kind of also drifting in areas, so we actually may have some higher sleet totals, even more than a half an inch. And then obviously the very, very cold temperatures outside right now, the wind chills that we have, and that is going to continue through tonight into tomorrow. We're probably going to be issuing some sort of wind chill advisories for maybe portions of the area tonight, especially with coordination happening with other offices surrounding us. So be aware of that. And the last point there, travel will remain an issue the rest of today, overnight, into the warning area, especially within patchy travel issues in the advisory area for the next 12 hours. Come Friday, we'll talk about that in a second. There could be many areas that still have travel impacts even tomorrow, just based off temperatures and how much ice has fallen. This was a screen capture from just about 30 minutes ago or so, showing the current temperatures out in the hill country well into the lower 20s. There's still some very, very light precipitation echoes out in the hill country, but for the most part, the heaviest stuff has shifted off to the east. We are now getting reports out of our southeast coastal counties down here of actual sleet falling. So even though some of the ground temperatures are above freezing, we are starting to get some sleet reports from there. Throughout the I-35 corridor from Austin down to San Antonio, temperatures primarily have dropped below freezing and have remained freezing for several hours. So the ice is accumulating now, right, on pretty much everything. And depending on where you are, some of the roads are now being impacted along I-35 corridor as well. This is the current watch and warning map that we have. I'm sorry, watch, warning, and advisory map. Currently in purple are the advisory counties that we have. Again, we're getting reports of frozen precipitation, some ice on the trees and on some of the exposed surfaces. But for the most part, a lot of the roads in the purple areas are still passable and not too many concerns, except for the overpasses, I guess I'll say. However, much different story in the areas in the pink where we have still a winter storm warning in effect until 9 p.m. We're having pretty significant travel impacts with ice-packed roads, traffic accidents, etc. One note is that there will be, again, updates to this warning and advisory map that you see here over probably the next several hours, and particularly by 9 o'clock when most everything is set to expire. We're going to be either extending or changing the wording depending on what the travel conditions are like. Overall, this is kind of what we're still expecting. Again, kind of it's ending from west to east, but we are going to see some patches of probably close to a ½ inch of ice accumulation on some of the exposed surfaces, including some of the roads and trees that will and has been causing some power outages and will continue to cause some road issues. Obviously, the best place to go for road conditions is drivetexas.org, and then also some of the webcams out there kind of seeing what it actually kind of looks like. I know we're going to be getting probably a lot of questions about what are the roads going to be like tomorrow, and I'm going to have to answer it very in a hard way, saying I'm not a road expert. I'm a weather person, and we understand that the temperatures and precipitation, but how that all interacts with the certain roads and what roads will be still remained ice packed and which ones won't. There's just a lot of variables which we can discuss here at the end. This is what some of at least what one model is kind of showing what the radar will be looking like at 3 p.m. Today, kind of showing that most of the precipitation is kind of shifting now east of Interstate 35. I do think we're going to have some patchy light precipitation still around I-35 by 3 o'clock, but for the most part, the heaviest stuff will be shifting east. And then by 6 p.m. on the right-hand side here, you can also see again, for the most part, the heaviest precipitation should have already pushed out of most of South Central Texas and our National Weather Service jurisdictional area. We now kind of then shift to the temperatures and the extreme temperatures that we'll be having. These are the expected low temperatures tonight. So tonight into Friday morning, you can see the teens out in the hill country, teens along Interstate 35, and low to mid 20s elsewhere. Obviously, remember the 4 Ps, the people, the pets, the pipes, and the plants. These extended periods of freezing temperatures are what typically brings the broken water pipes. Not necessarily just how cold it gets, but how long it stays cold. That with 15 to 25 mile per hour winds overnight and into tomorrow morning, possibly gust over 30. We are forecasting these wind chills that could be below 0 in portions of the hill country, basically single digits to low teens elsewhere. Obviously very dangerous, including threats for hypothermia and everything else, especially for folks that are exposed outside. Tomorrow, the good news, much of the area will be creeping up above freezing by afternoon. There may be even some sunshine out there, which will help kind of melt off maybe some of the stuff on some of the roadways, not everywhere. You can see out in the hill country here, we're still going to be hovering around the freezing mark. So if you're planning on any sort of travel, remember to go to drivetexas.org, look at the maps to kind of see and maybe do a little bit of investigation to kind of find out what the road conditions are like, because where they've had the highest ice amounts up here, with it being that cold, there likely won't be considerable improvements tomorrow, not until we get way above freezing. And that won't be actually until Saturday. And speaking of Saturday, the morning, again, so Friday night into Saturday morning, still expecting a hard freeze across everywhere again. So anything that was able to freeze or unfreeze or basically thaw out maybe a little bit on Friday afternoon, especially like on I-35 or the southern part of the area, may have a chance to refreeze again if the road doesn't dry out properly. So look for that, especially if driving at nighttime. There may be some refreezing of some of the water on the roads. And the really good news then is on by Saturday, look at the temperatures here, still expecting warm up all the way into the 40s and even some 50s across the region. Everybody should be above freezing. And this will start the slow process of warming up through the early to middle part of next week. So again, in summary, we still have the precipitation amounts. It's still ongoing. So we'll try to get some sort of totals across the area here over the next 24 hours for everybody. especially if you're going to be writing some reports or for after action reports. In the advisory area and elsewhere, we're expecting kind of trace amounts and some glaze on some of the exposed surfaces. The temperature is going to be the big deal. Again, 60 plus hours maybe of below freezing temperatures in the hill country. Hard freezes expected the next several nights with wind chill values possibly near zero. The travel impacts will continue through the day today, probably into tomorrow for those areas that have had the most ice, especially areas north, Travis, Williamson County, then westward out into the hill country there. And of course, the timing, we're still going to have the ice chances through evening, most of the day today. And then the ice itself that has already fallen may actually stick around until Friday. So confidence is obviously higher right now just because the event is actually ongoing and basically exiting. So we're pretty confident now that the precipitation will be moving away, and we're very confident about those temperatures that we are expected over the next 12 to 24 to 48 hours. And again, I wanted to wrap up again by showing this website, the weather.gov/forecast points website. There's a great place to go. Zoom in on the map, click anywhere on the map, and you will get our digital database in either a weekly summary form that you see down below here, or hourly tables that you can actually scroll through and see hour by hour over the next 7 days. Very handy if you want to see exactly how your high temperatures will be, or your hourly temperatures, especially tomorrow. How many hours are we expected to have above freezing temperatures in your area? So it could be helpful like that. There's also the same information you can get access from our website, but just in a much clearer and nice color-coded format. So with that, I am going to start answering some questions for people that are actually kind of going to be typing in to the questions feature there. Again, we don't have any scheduled webinar for tomorrow. We'll just be pushing out our typical situation reports, probably at least one tomorrow morning and probably then one tomorrow afternoon like that. So with that, I am going to be answering some questions. So stand by and I'm going to try to answer some of those. James Mendoza is asking about Stinson. Right now, I show Stinson at looks like about 34 degrees, James, something like that. So I think still above freezing. Other parts, so as an example, the San Antonio airport is standing at about 28. So northern part of the city is below freezing right now. Looks like the southern half of the city and southern half of Bexar County is still hanging on to the above freezing temperatures. But again, as you know, even from neighborhood to neighborhood, we can vary 2 to 3 degrees. So there's probably all parts of Bexar County are probably freezing. It's just that there's a nice little warm area around Stinson Airport right now in the southeast corner. So hopefully that answers that. Any other questions from anybody? Please type them in if you can. For those of you also on the call, we will be wanting to get some sort of, what kind of ice that you have in your area, in your county, any significant impacts, that sort of a thing. So please keep that in mind. I'll probably be sending out a separate email that kind of talks about that. So be aware of that and maybe start accumulating some of those reports for me. We're going to be interested in number of accidents, if roads were closed, what kind of accumulation of ice did you actually have, and what sort of impacts did you actually have. Let's see, someone is asking about shirts in Cibolo tonight. Stand by and I will get you that information. We're finishing up the forecast right now, but I've got a good way of kind of cheating, kind of seeing what we've got. So looks like overnight tonight, we're going to be dropping well into about 20 degrees, probably something like that tonight in the shirts in Cibolo. So yeah, we're going to remain freezing. It's going to be a hard freeze across the entire South Central Texas area. We'll be sending out this fairly quick so the powers that be can get some decisions. Yes, I will try my best to get these slides out really, really quick, and then I will try to get the recording out as quick as possible. Hopefully within the hour, I can do that. Any moisture on the ground now has a high possibility of becoming ice west of 35. The answer is yes. Since it's still below freezing out, especially west of Interstate 35, I don't see that ice going anywhere in the next 12 hours or almost even 24 hours until it starts to get some sort of sunshine tomorrow. Maybe you'll start to get some improvement, but the roads that are bad right now in the hill country are going to remain bad overnight. I have a pretty high confidence in that. Can you speak to where we would likely see some warming and melting tomorrow? We've got some partly cloudy skies forecast almost across the entire area. So I think every area is about fair game to at least see some hours of sun tomorrow. Cloud forecasting is hard enough, and trying to figure out, is that going to be enough time to have some significant melting? The answer is probably in some regions. So look for some melting tomorrow for some of the road conditions and everything, but it's too hard to tell exactly what or to what extent the improvements on the roads will actually be. We'll have to hope for a lot of sun tomorrow to make especially out in the hill country, to make some good headway on road improvements out there. That's my bet. Again, I'm not a road expert, but that's my experience. When do you think it'll be safe for us to stop letting the faucets trip? The water rate is going to kill me. So obviously, depending on what you're comfortable with, the temperatures will not be above freezing across the entire area, most likely until tomorrow afternoon. So depending on your pipes and how much you want to drip your pipes, I typically go by the temperatures, and we're not expecting to get above freezing temperatures until tomorrow afternoon, early afternoon, or maybe late morning for some folks. Okay, anything else that anybody needs to know about? Like I said, we'll try to send out these slides ASAP, and then I'll probably do a follow-up, and I will send out the recording as soon as that is processed. It takes several minutes for the GoToWebinar to process this recording and such. So, okay, well, with that, I don't see any more questions, so please feel free to drop off at this time. And I will end this webinar here in the next about 30 seconds. And with that, again, thank you. Stay safe. Send us some reports. You can either do it by sending it to our emails that we have pushed out on our sit reps, or even if you're into Twitter, you can put the hashtag EWXSpotter. We kind of preach that a lot in our Skywarn trainings. You can actually use that for winter reporting as well. So just get those pictures and reports out to us so we can see it, because the media are wanting those reports also. Okay, well, thank you everybody, and take care and stay safe and stay warm.